Documentation and you. Hello, I am Dr. Umentation, but most people call me Doc. Today, we are here to talk about MLA documentation. So, what exactly is MLA documentation? Well, MLA documentation was created by the Modern Language Association as a way for students in English classes to give credit where credit is due.
What do you mean, Doc?
Well, Timmy, if when you are writing a paper for your English class, you use an idea from someone else, well, whether it is something you researched or you just saw on the internet, your instructor will assume the idea came from you, if you do not document the actual source.
So, Doc, what happens if you don't document your sources?
Well, Timmy, that is called plagiarism and can result in failing the paper, or other punishments possibly as severe as a failing grade in the course. Even though you may have accidentally forgotten to document your source, it is still technically plagiarism. Doc's advice is that you can never do too much documentation. Better to be safe than to be sorry. Now, then you are probably wondering how to cite sources using MLA documentation. Well, there are two things you must do. The first thing is in-text citation. This is when you mention something that you research or quote something that you researched in a paper. The text citation allows the reader to find which books or articles you're using on your works cited page, but we'll talk about that later. There are multiple ways to cite sources in the text. For example, if you quote something and do not say where it came from in the text, then you can cite it like this. In parentheses, you put the name of the author and the page on which the quotation appears. If, on the other hand, you mention the author in the text, then you just need to place a page number after paragraph, like so. Finally, if you mention both the author's name and the page number in your paragraph, you not need to document the source any more than you already have. You've given credit where credit is due. You've done a good job. Now, there is one more time when you may have to use in-text citation, although you may not think that you do. When you are paraphrasing from someone else's work, like, rephrasing what they have said, then you will need to document where you got the original information. This one is kind of tricky and many people forget to do it, but it is very important so people do not think that the information comes from you, but know that it comes from someone else.
But, Doc, didn't you say there was something else you had to do too? Some sort of work study something or something like that?
Correct you are, Lucy. But it is not called a work study something. It is called a work cited page. The work cited page, also called a bibliography, is like the index of a book. It tells the reader where to go to find outside information that the writer used to write their paper. It is also a record of the sources of that information in case questions should arise about those sources. As you can see, there are many different ways to list sources in a works cited page. One way for each type of source. So, books have one way, and books with multiple authors have another, and websites have another, and etc. There are too many to explain here, but I can offer you some places to look for such information. You should own the first of these sources, Hacker's Writer's Reference, and you can use it to find the way to cite any source that you are looking for. The other source, the Purdue University Online Writing Lab, or OWL, can be found by a simple Google search for MLA, or for OWL. Well, Purdue OWL anyway. So, there is where you can find the ways that you use to cite the various sources you are seeking, because it is very difficult to memorize them all. And that, my friends, is all I have to say about MLA documentation. If you have questions after this film is finished, please feel free to ask your friendly instructor. I'm sure they will happily answer any questions you have about documentation. This has been Dr. Umentation. Have a great day. And remember, you can never do too much documentation. It is always better to be safe than sorry.